2.5 years old, little daughter sat there and said, I used to live on a farm. She just kept eating. I got chills. Right now it's going all the way. So I live it every time I tell it. And of course, Trey goes, you never lived on a farm. And he's like, oh, Taylor. And everybody's looking at her and she goes, yes, I did. Not in this life. And she just kept eating. A little background on this, I was an at-home mother. And this child never left my side. I knew what she read. I knew what she saw. I knew what she heard. I knew everything about this child's first 2.5 years. And nothing in that would have ever explained what I had just witnessed. She absolutely affirmed she lived on a farm, but not in this life. So this was like a real awakening to me. This was nothing I could have an explanation for. I had never explored any of the new Christian thought ideas. In fact, I hadn't really gone too far out of my daily activities as a mother with 2 small children. You know, I just was trying to accomplish what I needed to do on a day-to-day basis. But I knew enough to listen. Thank you, God. And from that moment on, for about the next 6 months, every evening when I put her to bed, and my son would say prayers and would have quiet time when they could talk to me about whatever was on their mind. And after I would leave Trey's room, I'd go over to Taylor's and we'd say our prayers and have our quiet time. And I would say to her, tell me about the farm. And she would. And she didn't tell me about one farm. She told me about 2 farms. There was a red barn and a blue barn, and she never confused them. Over about 6-month period of time, if I tried to confuse her, she'd get frustrated, go, no, Mommy, that was Blue Barn. That was Blue Barn, Mommy. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the red barn, which she seemed to have the most key memories on, is as a child, she was sent to the barn to live. And she had a very kind brother, and her brother used to come and bring her food and come see her and visit with her. And the brother, to her, was a real significant part of her experience. Now, picture this in a 2.5-year-old's talking now, okay? So I'm translating from baby talk now, but this is what she was talking about. And she would tell me how to stay warm, how they're barn animals. There were certain barn animals you could cozy up to. They would keep you warm, but they wouldn't hurt you by rolling over on you or kicking you or biting you. And she didn't have any knowledge of farm animals. She grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, born and raised, knew nothing about cold, never been cold. She knew nothing about farm animals, and yet she detailed which animals, what their behavior patterns, what they were like. She remembered them in detail. So that was just, I mean, I just couldn't get my hands around this at all. And I did, thank goodness I did call my friend Nancy all the time, and I go, Nancy, you know what she told me last night? So Nancy's my other, she also experienced everything I did. So this went on, and then there was a period where she became ill, and she was allowed into the house. And they carried her into the house, and they laid her by the fire. This is a Florida baby. They laid her by the fire for warmth. And she was very, very sick. And her family was around her. And she remembers laying there. And then she remembers, and this is key, everyone, she remembers looking down as she's going up at her mother. And she was sorry. She was sorry she treated me that way. She wished she hadn't treated me and been so that mean to me, or whatever the word was she used. I don't think she used me. It was more she wished she hadn't treated me that way. And she wanted me back. But God said, no, you did not treat her right. You do not get her back. And I got to go home. And she looked down. She looked down, I've got chills again, at her mother. And her mother's sorrow and regret. It's crazy. There was the blue barn, and the blue barn would frustrate her the most because I didn't remember. I did not remember I was her favorite aunt. I did not remember that I had 3 little girls and I was her favorite aunt. Why didn't I remember that? And why didn't I remember she chose me to be her mom? She chose me to be her mom. Let's think about that. 2.5 years old. She had no exposure to this kind of thought. There were no books that she had been read. There was no one she's talked to. And I harbored this for years because it was the greatest gift anyone could have. What more proof than we are spiritual beings having a human experience? And now, throughout my entire life since that day, I'm an objective observer. When things get really heated or I become upset, I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. I wonder what Karen's going to do now. I wonder what Karen's going to do now. I guess she's going to call on all those past experiences and come up with some good answer. And if it's not a good answer, maybe she'll learn from the bad one. But what's Karen going to do now? What freedom! What freedom from the world circumstance, what freedom from personal circumstance. What a gift to know. And I know that we have other lives, that we have a series of lives where we learn and we grow and we come back for another opportunity to catch what we didn't quite get the first time. And then we have another opportunity. And then, hopefully, and I didn't get this from Taylor, but hopefully we get to the point of purification and understanding of truth, and we don't have to return. I hope one day I'm that guardian angel up there, and I'm kind of helping all my friends, because I'm from the other side, making a difference. And I hope that's what we all achieve at one point, and I don't know how many lives that takes, but I'm very grateful to Marie. The talk I gave many years ago was because our speaker didn't show, and so they asked me to come up and talk about something I knew to be true, and that's what I knew to be true. And I am not a speaker by nature. And today you wouldn't even know I was a musician. But that happens. But she asked me, and has been asking me for several years, to come up and explain what happened and share my personal experience. And that caused me to do research, which I've never done. I've never researched this topic. Not that I thought it was just unique to me. I'm sure that it wasn't, but it caused me to research. And I'm telling you what, books have been written on this subject. Books. And then, on top of books being written on this subject, I came up with some quotes that were just amazing, and I love this. I'll read a couple I think that are so important. One from Socrates, okay? Socrates. I am confident that there truly is such a thing as living again, that the living spring from the dead, and that the souls of the dead are in existence, that the living spring from the dead. Socrates. Henry David Thoreau. As far back as I can remember, I have unconsciously referred to the experiences of a previous state of existence. Henry David Thoreau. There's so many here. Count Leo Tolstoy. We've all read Tolstoy at least some point in our lives, in high school, college. As we live through thousands of dreams in our present life, so is our present life only one of many thousands of such lives which we enter from the other more real life. Which we enter from the other more real life and then return to after death. Our life is but one of the dreams that the more real life, and so it is endlessly, until the very last one, the very real life of God. Until the very last one, the very real life of God. Zohar. And this is from the principal Kabbalistic text from the Jewish text of books that they get their religion. And I'm trying to read my writing, and I can't tell you right now, from the Torah anyway, but as far as I can see, the writing's too small. If they have not, now this is the Zohar. If they have not fulfilled this condition during one life, they must commence another, a third, and so forth, until they have acquired the condition which fits them for reunion with God. For reunion with God. I love that one. That's from the Zohar. More modern one. How about Henry Ford? Henry Ford. Genius is experience. Some seem to think that it's a gift or a talent, but it is the fruit of long experience in many lives. The fruit of long experience in many lives. That's his explanation for genius. And I got to buy into it. And Carl Jung, this is my last one. I had to be born again because I had not fulfilled the task that was given to me. It's so fascinating because it's all so simple. It's all so simple. Spiritual beings having a human experience. And if we can just keep putting that into perspective, because life is nothing but ups and downs and challenges, but it's also growth. Because we wouldn't be growing if we didn't have challenges and ups and downs. If it was always heaven, we would never have that opportunity, would we? So anyway, I was going to read stories of other children and other experiences like I had, but then I was talking to Marie and I was thinking to myself, I know right here in this room, there's other experiences. We've had other ah-ah moments that we had an epiphany and knew that was truth. And I would like to take this time and what we have left for us to share their truth, your truth, so that we all might learn from that. Is there anybody willing to share what they know to be true? Please, please.
This is just one little simple thing.
Please.
I've been in meditation for a few days, and I asked my spiritual guide, what is your name? I want to know your name. I went to the bank, and there was a sign on the counter that said Sarah, and there was a dove by her name. And so I know that's my guide's name, Sarah.
I love it. I love it. Yes, ma'am.
I went to a...
Speak up because we want everyone to hear what you shared.
I went to a group, a woman, who took you back to past lives. And in the course of doing it, what she told everyone was, if this does not relate to you, don't bother. Don't think about it. But she would take you back. And I had two experiences, and one was significant to me because I've always been around water, always been around water. And I was in Atlantis, and I was coming up upon the shore and into a house which was kind of like an adobe. It wasn't the kind of houses we have today. And I was sitting at a desk writing. And I know that water has a tremendously soothing effect for me, but also a fear of water, because for some reason I'm very afraid of drowning. Mm-hmm. So, but someplace in that time period, I was there. I knew I was there because I felt it. I was there. And I have one more little thing. This has nothing to do with people, it has something to do with an animal. My friend had a beautiful German Shepherd. She was almost 8. She developed cancer. But this was later on after she passed. But the woman, he spoke with a spiritualist, I guess. And the dog kept the sickness from his owner for as long as she could. And she was protecting him. And so I know that we have had past lives. I know that we still will continue as long as we need to have.
That's right. And this, I think you all know that she was a nun. She was in a convent at one time, so this is Catholicism speaking. All right? Boom, you know? I love it.
Beyond Catholicism.
Well, it's exactly right. When you have an epiphany, when you are faced with truth, there is no denying. Every hair stands up, you get all tingly, you go, whoa, something just happened. This is the truth.
I was born on the Feast of the Epiphany.
Wow.
And I always still question. I'm always questioning why.
And that's why we're here, right?
Yes.
We're talking about children. Speak up as best you can, because I want everyone to share this experience.
Children,
come here
We didn't hear you.
with all this knowledge, and they lose it as they get older.
Yes.
And my grandson was around 18 months, and he wasn't walking really well. He's still in his little walker running around. My daughter and I were talking about someone that we just decided was just evil. They're evil. They were so dark, they were evil. I said, they're a dark soul. And Zachary, who is very autistic, but it wasn't Zachary speaking. Zachary looked at both of us and his walker and said, but don't you understand? You won't know light until you see darkness.
Wow.
My daughter and I just
Wow.
like this, oh my gosh, that wasn't Zachary.
Wow.
He, who Zachary decided to come back as, was a wonderful, sweet, autistic child. But this wasn't him. We knew that. And he wasn't really very verbal at that time, but he just said it in an adult, different voice. But don't you understand? You can't see light until you know darkness.
Wow.
So,
Wow. This is why reading these stories, I encourage everybody to really delve into this. But it's what we've experienced. Each one of us on some level has heard it, has heard the truth. Marie, wait. Ruth's going to. We'll close with you, Marie. We'll bring open and we'll close.
From the time I was a child,
That's why we stand up and talk. Because I think, I'm
Well,
sorry.
that's one.
I apologize. I think people aren't hearing, and
Okay.
that's wrong. I should have had a mic or something.
No.
I could have.
From the time I was a child, I always spoke like an adult, like I had been here forever doing whatever. But I remember maybe 5 or 6, the first time I noticed something particularly different. We're riding down the road, place we've never been before, and I get car sick, and so I'm looking down in the back trying to and all of a sudden I pop up and it's like, I've been here before. And Mother's like, no, it's not possible. We've never been here before. We've never been down this road. We've never even been in this part of the country. It's like, yes, I've been here before. And I look around and I'm going, and around the corner is so-and-so and so-and-so. And she's looking at me like I've lost my mind. We come around the corner and there it is. It's like, okay. So there would be little things like that happen. And I've actually experienced multiple past lives and pieces in them, where I was a musician or different things. But one of the most things that happened to me is I would hear things come out of my mouth that I didn't plan, that there was no conscious thought about. And I would hear them go, and I would hear them go, well, no, these are not the kind of like, oh, wish I hadn't said that. No, this is the kind of thing where something pops out and it's like, wow, that's true. Wonder where that came from, because I didn't create it, I didn't plan it, I didn't make it up. But one time, most of you have met my wife, Jen, and we've known each other for, in this life, 34 years. And this is 18, 19 years ago, we were having an argument about something. We weren't a couple yet, but we were arguing about something, and I just, out of my mouth shot the words, I have waited 400, and in my head I hear 386 to be exact, years. How much longer do I have to wait? It's like, whoa, okay. So it's like, and there are just events like that where they come through and there's no explaining other than we have multiple forms, multiple lives, multiple existences. Whether they happen in sequence or whether they happen all at the same time, I don't have a clue as to how all that happens, but I know it's in there. And
When it happens,
yeah, you cannot deny it, you cannot ignore it.
you can't write it off. Yes.
I had a cat.
Please stand up and
I had a cat, a black cat.
project.
And I love this kitty cat. She got very sick, and I was having to take care of her. And it was so hard to get the medicine down her. And I said, I just wish she would die. Oh, she did. And then I prayed, I wish I had an opportunity to love you. And then one day, I'm walking up the drive, and I hear something behind me, and there's a tiny little kitty cat that's following me that came from nowhere. And I have loved Callie since the day she came to live with us. So I feel like the spirit of Annie came back because I wanted to love her.
I believe that's true, and I do believe that a lot of what we're touching upon becomes divine order too. Divine order is absolutely involved in every minute and every second of our life if we allow it, and we can ignore it, but it's there. Marie, how about you coming and then giving us your little, whatever you feel you can share, and then what I'm going to ask is that after we close today, that you all continue this conversation, because we learn from each other, we grow from each other, and that's really the thing I want you to take home value of today, is to do that.
I think many of us don't have an opportunity to talk about this, and sometimes we repress the need to, or even the idea, for lots of different reasons. As an adult, I've come to recognize and be able to identify some of my past lives, memories, in great detail in some cases. And I don't need to tell the story, but I've given thought to what it means, and why do I need to remember? Because I'm a firm believer in living in the moment, living in the now, and in this life that we have right here. That's why we're here. But I've also come to draw from some of those past experiences and recognize the lesson that I was meant to remember, and then begin applying that in a meaningful way in this life.
Mm-hmm.
And if in a past life I, for example, died and lived with a feeling of not being loved, and that comes back perhaps in this experience, it isn't this experience, but something that happened in the past can affect us. And it's a good reminder for me, and maybe a good reminder for all of us, that it is the past, but we have to live in the now, and the lessons of this life, and sometimes the lessons of the past. That's all I'm going to share.
Absolutely, absolutely true. We're just about ready to call it a morning. Go out and enjoy this beautiful sunshine, a gift from God, no doubt, after all of these days of rain. Thinking about an ark, I'll tell you what.
They're just thinking about a bike right now.
I know. But just to keep that in mind, and the one thing I want for everyone to know and to think about is just that, as living in the now, is paying attention not just to the divine order in our lives, which occurs from morning till night. It just never stops. All those moments really are all around us. But to listen to small children, everything I have read on all the research, which is volumes now since Marie asked me to speak, children will let go of those past lives by 6 years old. You can very early as 1.5, you can get all kinds of information from them about if they were a recently born soul, especially if they were very recently born back into flesh. You can get information. By 6, they've let it go. And so all of the doctors, psychiatrists, all of the experts in the field that have interviewed these children and documented these stories say that by then they're done. So any little child who has something to share, listen to that and take it to heart, because it may be that they're communicating something that you that moment need to hear, because when you hear it from a small child, you can hear it from me today, but when you hear it from a baby, and it is so real that it's emotional. Like as I said, when I did not remember her being my favorite, that I was her favorite aunt, she'd be angry and upset with me. Mommy, why don't you remember? Mommy! And she would become so emotional. I would go, oh yes, I remember. It was a very emotional thing. And her death, when she looked down at her mother, was a very emotional thing. And the one thing that I do need to, and I accidentally omitted, is she would go, I'm done talking now, Mom. She would say, I'm done. That's all I want tonight. She would always close when we would have the quiet time together over that 6-month period with, no more, Mommy, I'm done. And then when I started hearing no more, Mommy, I realized she needed to let go, and I wasn't letting her. And want to leave that with you, that when those little ones come to you, pay attention, because they really are reborn spirits, and they're here to teach us just like we're there to teach them.